The negative interest rate would be applied to the central bank balance. The banks that have these accounts have the opportunity of withdrawing cash. Once they withdraw cash, they're no longer faced with a negative interest rate. So that's a leakage out of the central bank balance. So you want to try to stop that leakage. You remove cash entirely. You could have the government issue a card which was like a stored value card that's reloadable in terms of cash. So you go to your bank in effect and you give them the cash and they give you this debit card type of affair which has the stored value on it, and that saves the seigniorage revenue for the government. And then you can change that rate by essentially changing the deposit rate. That's, I think, probably a good idea from the standpoint of getting tax evasion and criminal behavior. But again, in the short term, that's not very viable. Then there was another idea of barcoding currency so they could be taxed at the same rate that other electronic payments would be taxed. That's not viable. The administrative aspects are very difficult. And finally, there's the third one, which would be having an exchange rate between currency and electronic money. The idea here would be to first work with the central bank where you would have a fee that would be placed on the net cash withdrawal. Well, that would offset the incentive to withdraw cash from the central bank balance. Now, if there's still a cost that's involved that the bank has to incur because of negative interest rates, they could, of course, try to pass that on to their depositors. If you pass it on in the form of a fee on the size, the value of a deposit, that gives consumers an opportunity and an incentive to withdraw cash. So how do you stop that? Well, one way would be to just essentially raise the ATM fee. That's no problem. But actually, there's an easier way. There's something called an account maintenance fee. It's $10 a month. That's the average in the US. That's $120 a year. As far as the consumers are concerned, that represents a service charge, but actually it's a negative interest rate because they have a deposit and they have to pay that fee. So actually when they take the money out, they take out less. It's just really a matter of raising that fee so as to compensate the bank. But if you have a fee on the account, which is fixed, then in fact there's no benefit from withdrawing cash, because the fee is still there. You can withdraw all the cash you want. The fee is still on the account. This has nothing to do with stimulating the economy. It just stops the leakage out of central bank accounts and would stop the leakage out of deposit accounts. It allows the negative interest rate, when it exists, to actually have the effect that it should have, although it's probably weak, to stimulate investment. So that's the only thing I'm dealing with, is that leakage aspect. The other aspect is negative interest rates. How stimulated can it be for the economy as a whole? I frankly think it's going to be pretty small.